Good evening, everyone. I am not Dusty Cat, as you can plainly see. For those of you who are expecting him tonight, he is, of course, still on a plane making his way home. So I'm afraid tonight you do not have the manliest brony in the world. You have me instead. I'm Sketchy Sounds. And I figured, seeing as you guys do not have any the usual show from us tonight, that I would provide some alternative entertainment. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to do a reading of some fic work. This is actually one I wrote myself that I'm going to do, and I may do bits and pieces of others as well. So I'm just going to pull up the fic itself here. And my usual show would be on a Thursday, but as I say, Dusty can't be with us tonight, so I'm filling in with some alternative entertainment. Pardon me one moment, I need to take this off because it's a bit hot in here. I'm a bit quiet. Okay. Can you guys hear me better now? Sorry, I was using my slightly more quiet voice. That was more like my snooker commentary voice there. Okay. Now then, this fic that I'm going to read from, as I say, is one I wrote. It is called Sketchy Salad Symphony. And I guess we'll just go from the start. I'm going to provide a link in the Everfree Radio chat just now for this, so that you guys can follow along. So, there you go, guys. I will be reading from there. And we do actually have a show that is going to be starting on Everfree Radio soon, which is going to be doing this sort of thing, but with a lot more people, with community voice actors and so forth. That show is called Reading Rainbow. It is due to debut this week, as long as there are no technical hitches. And that will be put together, as I say, with assorted voices and narration. I expect it's going to be very good, and I will be tuning in myself to have a listen. And as this, you guys I'll do as well. Anyway, as I say, this fic is called Sketchy Salad Symphony. It was written by myself. The fic is complete these days, and I provide a link in the chat. So, if you all are sitting comfortably, I'll begin. Sketchy Salad Symphony. Prelude. The dull white noise of rain hitting stone echoed through the lamp-lit streets of Canterlot. It was a dull autumn evening. The sky overhead hung with drab grey clouds. It was hardly weather to be out in, unless you had taken leave of your senses. Certainly, that was what Salad Sandwich thought to mused to herself, as she set about cleaning up the shop floor of Gray's, the family-run sandwich bar belonging to her parents. Pardon me, I'm multitasking here. The young unicorn busied herself with sweeping up the floor, cleaning the countertops, wiping down the tables, and all that other sort of busy work, humming to herself all the while. It had been a fairly slow day today, not least because it was starting to get colder outside these days as the year pressed on towards winter. Pardon me a moment here. You always felt the biting chill of the wind up here in the mountain city a good while before winter ever actually came in full force. Just as she was about to stow away the mop and bucket, her ear flicked as she heard a quiet, steady sound over the rain. It sounded like a horse-drawn cart headed this way. Now, who would be out on a night like this drawing a cart? She wondered to herself, but she paid it little heed for the time being. However, the noise increased in volume, finally prompting her to take a glance out the shop's glass front. Sure enough, a cart drawn by a single horse was moving slowly down the street. The horse in question was covered with a thick raincoat draped over its head and back. Whether it was a colt or a filly, she couldn't really be sure, although whichever it was, he or she was looking a sorry sight. She felt a twinge of sympathy for the poor thing, but it looked as though he or she knew where they were going. She turned away from the window and was about to head up a flight of stairs into the family home above the shop when she heard the clopping of hooves and the slow rumble of wheels grind to a halt. She stopped in her tracks, glancing over her shoulder. Pardon me one moment here, people. Okay. A silhouette darkened the window. In an instant, she recognized it as the same figure she'd just seen before. She frowned slightly to herself, trotting back toward the shop door as she saw the shape outside do much the same. There came a soft rapping at the door in a staccato pattern. A brief glow of her horn saw to the task of partially opening the top of the door, and she peered a little hesitantly out at the sodden figure as the rain pattered loudly behind them, squinting her eyes a bit as the cool and damp night air blew in. "You do know we're closed, right?" she said slowly, with a slight air of suspicion in her voice. "Yep, I can see that," came the reply. "So, why have you come knocking so late in the day?" It was, after all, past sunset by a fair while, and whilst Canterlot was a vibrant and active city during both day and night, Gray's wasn't a 24 hours a day establishment. "I'm looking for a friend of mine," came the reply. The voice was unmistakably masculine, though the accent was curious. It sounded like some sort of blend of the typical upper-class Canterlot and something else very rural. That and something else about it sounded somehow familiar, but Salad couldn't place her hoof on it. Before she could utter another word, the stranger spoke up again. This is Gray's, right? The Sandwich family shop? I mean, if it's not, then I'm sorry, and I'd love some directions." Salad tilted her head at that, and then her eyes began to widen a little. The stranger apparently noticed this, and at the same time shifted his head forward a bit. She caught a glimpse of ocean green eyes under the hood, and a pale white-grey coat as he shuffled forward a bit, peering at her. "Sally?" he said in incredulous tones. Salad gasped. Outside of her family, there was only one other she'd ever known who called her that, or rather, whom she allowed to call her that. "Sketchy?" she gasped, taking a step or two back. "Goodness me, is that you? It's been, what, how many years?" The colt poked his head through the door's top opening, deliberately catching his hood on the frame. This revealed a light brown-coloured mane and the same ocean green eyes as before. And now, Salad could see, a huge grin on his face. "Strike me dead, little Sally Sandwich! Or not so little now, I guess. I know it's asking a massive favour and all, but would your folks mind if I crashed here tonight? I've just gotten here from Shetland. My hooves are killing me, and I'm soaked, and it's cold, and I'm miserable. He trailed off, his smile starting to fade and his gaze shifting downward. Salad frowned slightly at that. She'd known this particular pony since the two of them were foals, almost, and in all this time she'd only ever seen this sort of look on his face a scant few times. None of them had been pleasant. She cast the thought aside for the moment, however, and focused on the more immediate task of lightening her friend's mood. Pardon me, I'm getting a spam ton of emails on my client here, I've just noticed. Oh my word. Just clearing those all up. In fact, I should just close this thing whilst I'm doing this. There we go. I don't care if they tell me off, she grinned. There's no way I'm leaving you out on the street. Bring your cart through the arch. I'll go tell them what's going on. Her ploy worked, as the greyish pony's face immediately lit up once more with a smile. Thanks, Sally. I knew I could count on you. Any time, Sugar Cube, Salad replied, turning and galloping off up the stairs. Some time later, the two of them were sat in the living room of the Sandwiches Above shop home, huddled by a warm fire. So let me get this straight, Salad asked her friend. You're moving back to Canterlot? Now that she was off duty as a representative of the business, she'd dropped the well-practiced, formal tones and speech she usually adopted whilst behind the counter, in favour of her ordinary, more rustic manner. Her friend nodded his head. That's right, Sally, he replied, a grin on his face. I'm old enough now to look after myself, and what with my mum getting ready to move, and her parents having passed, well, there was precious little keeping me in Shetland. So I figured now was the time to come back here and make a fresh start, in a manner of speaking. Especially when I realised I'll start that bit again. Especially when I realised what it was I wanted to do with myself. I figure I've more of a chance of living my dreams here than there. Salad turned her eyes momentarily to her friend's flank, which last time she'd ever seen him had borne no marking of his special talent. This was no longer the case, however, as the colt's flank nowadays was emblazoned with a combination of two things: a pencil threaded through the prongs of an alto clef, a mark declaring to the world that this is a pony whose talents of music and art with the pencil were tied strongly together. She smiled to herself, looking back to his face. I can see that, she said. I'm glad to see you finally got your mark. I was a mite concerned when you left and you were still blank as could be. Her friend's response to this was simply to grin and nod. I was, aye. But I'd always had this feeling that it was those two things that I was destined for. I don't know. I'd always had my doubts. Up till the day I sat down with one of my teachers and had a heart-to-heart about it all, and then came home and told my mum I knew what I wanted to do with my life. Next thing you know, bam, he said, a nostalgic expression creasing his features. Salad nodded, peering again briefly at the mark. My music theory ain't spectacular, she admitted, before asking, That's tenor clef, ain't it? Or is it an alto? Well, technically it's either, Sketchy replied, but it fits me. I'm certainly no treble. The rosy-coloured unicorn let out a giggle as she made a bad joke. Yep, no treble at all. Her earth pony friend rolled his eyes at that, laughing. That was terrible, Sally. She grinned back at him, enjoying the shared joke for a few moments. Seeing him here in front of her again stirred a lot of old memories. When she was still just a foal, her and the grey-white pony had spent many happy days playing together. Really, he'd been more like a big brother than just a friend. The two of them had been almost inseparable growing up. They'd gone to the same nursery, then the same school, and their individual circles of friends had always included each other. Sitting here and talking again, it was almost as though he'd never left. The memory of a few years spent apart seemed like some sort of strange dream. She snapped out of her internal musings when she saw him cocking his head at her. "Bit for your thoughts, lass," he said, a small smile playing round his mouth. Salad's own expression broke into a broad smile as she got up from where she was sat, walked over, and plonked herself down on the floor next to him. She leaned into him gently and tucked the top of her head under his chin, taking care not to poke him there with her horn by accident. "I was just thinking, if you want to know, that it's real nice to have you back. I've missed you something sore, hun." She heard him let out a happy sigh and felt his weight against her as he leaned back into her and kined slightly. "Ditto, Sally. You're the little sister I never had. It's good to be home." "Home, that's a point, hun. Where are you going to live?" she asked, taking her head out from under his chin and glancing up at him, a small note of concern in her voice. "Oh, that's taken care of. You know the old chapel on Beech Grove? I'm moving into one of the apartments there," he answered. "I know it's hardly luxury accommodation, but it's a roof over my head, and that's what matters." "It is, at that," Salad agreed. "Well, that's good. For a moment I was worried that maybe you'd just dived on in without thinking." "Nah, not this time," Sketchy replied with a hint of a laugh. "I made sure to think it through. The only uncertainty in it all was managing to find a roof on my arrival here. I wasn't sure I'd be able to pick up my keys the same day I arrived. After all. I'm glad you hadn't moved shop since the last I was here." "Not likely, hun," she replied. "This here's our home, after all. There's always going to be hungry ponies to feed." "True. Speaking of which," he replied, a mirthful undercurrent in his voice. She smiled at that, getting to her hooves. "CLTC on Hearty White, right?" she inquired, a twinkle of happiness in her eyes. The large earth pony nodded, his face cracking into a grin. "Spot on. Not that I expected any less." "Good shopkeeper remembers her regulars' favourites," Salad replied over her shoulder as she trotted into the kitchen. "Even if they ain't been around in years," she added with a wink as she went to prepare her old friend his favourite sandwich. That left Sketchy on his own to reflect on things for a little while, as Salad had a tendency to fall silent when working in order to focus on her task. It was something she'd always taken very seriously, which was something he thought was a brilliant quirk of her nature. Still, he mused, if you were going to do something and do it well, it was important to have focus. This was part of why he'd taken the decision to move back to Canterlot, among other things. In Shetland, thanks to the small size of the community, it was difficult to find solitude. It wouldn't be right to say that he was antisocial, of course. If anything, Sketchy was a pony known for being a friendly and overall agreeable sort. However, in the small Shetland community, it was difficult to ever get a good amount of time to yourself. The locals, it seemed, had raised socializing to an art form, and it was one in which every pony there was a master at. Coupled with a small population, this meant not a day went by without there being some pony stopping by to gnat your ear off about this, that, or the other. It wasn't that this annoyed him. Well, okay, no, it did annoy him a bit. It was just that, with everyone being so sociable all the time, it meant less time on his own for doing his own thing and following his own interests. Here in the big city, he'd be a stranger to most, and hence able to blend into the crowds and vanish from sight, and get some peace and quiet all day long if he needed. That last thought brought with it a smile and a sigh of relief as he contemplated the idea that, finally, he'd be able to take time to do his own thing once in a while. As he continued musing on the idea of becoming familiar with the concept of me time, a delicious-looking and mouth-wateringly smelling sandwich floated before his eyes, sat on a pastel blue plate, and held aloft in a soft pink glow. "Bon appetit, Sketchy," came Sally's voice from the side. He looked round to see her grinning at him, and he returned the expression with a grin of his own and a nod. "Cheers, Sally. You're a gem," he said thankfully, tucking into the snack. The taste of crisp vegetables and creamy cheese sandwiched between fresh bread hit his taste buds in a cascade of flavour. Though what it tasted of more than anything else was the relief found at the end of an arduous trek, and the hope and expectancy of new things on the horizon. So that was the prelude of Sketchy Salad Symphony, a fanfic I finished writing not too long ago. For those of you wondering what's going on here on the Everfree Radio live stream, I'm Sketchy Sounds, and I'm providing a little bit of alternative entertainment tonight. Dusty Cat is still on a plane, so that's why there's no Stay Brony My Friends tonight. Why, thank you, Cred. I have actually been also recording an audiobook of another fic, which I have, which I rather enjoyed myself. It's called To Be a Better Stallion. It was written by Autumn Wind. Fantastic bit of work. Anyway, I still have some time here before I will need to shut off the stream because I know my flatmate is going to want to sleep in a couple of hours. So, would you guys like me to read some more, or would you maybe like some music? Throwing the question out to you guys in the Everfree Radio chat. Let me know. Some music. I somehow figured that might be the more popular choice. Okay, we've also got a vote for reading there. I should also note what I've been doing just there, doing some fic reading. We do have a show premiering this week, provided nothing goes wrong, called Reading Rainbow. That's going to be, it's been put together by Chaotic Harmony, Vigilant Watch, and a few other folk as well. I'm sorry I don't know all of your names who are involved in it, but that's going to hopefully be premiering this week. And that's been put together by a number of people. They've got voice actors doing voices throughout the fics and so forth. Should be very good. I'll be tuning into it myself as well to have a listen, because I do love this sort of thing. It's fine, Cosmic. The other day was when BronyCon was on, so we were all wielding the banhammer with extreme prejudice. So I was in no mood to be nice yesterday. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do, guys. I'll do a wee bit of music and then maybe do a bit more reading. So I'm just going to grab my guitar. Well, Chaotic Harmony, if you PM me 7 minutes, I can look it up. Just going to make some adjustments here. Pardon me. Okay, let's see here. You were the answer to my life. Days turned into years and into centuries. Patience had to fade. Don't you see that there is vengeance in my eyes? Luna, won't you cry for me? I'm as lonely as I've ever been. I'm forced back into the start. Is there any way to fix a broken heart? Infinite despise and endless jealousy bottled in my soul has erupted as I'm tearing through the skies. Days turned into years and into centuries. Patience had to fade. Don't you see that there is vengeance in my eyes? Pardon me one sec, just adjusting a few things here. Luna, won't you cry for me? I'm as lonely as I've ever been. I'm forced back into the start. Is there any way to fix a broken heart? Is it just me, or is that starting to get a bit quiet? Just bear with me a moment here, folks. I think the battery in my guitar's preamp might be dying. Sec here. Yeah, that is actually dying. It should be a bit more resonant than that. Give me a moment here. I am going to mute my guitar and replace the battery. Just bear with me whilst I grab my replacements. Oh, I should probably pop that reverb off. Sounds weird when I'm talking in that song. There we go. Right. Okay. Right, fresh battery. Okay, let's see here. Let's pop this back on. Oh, hang on a sec. Okay, yeah, that is on the correct setting. Okay. Any particular song requests, guys? As long as it's something quiet, because I don't want to raise the volume too much here. Ooh, I do in fact know Loyalty. I know a nice laid-back version of that, in fact. Let me just make some adjustments here. Okay, let's see how this sounds. 1. Okay. Capo. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Ah, there we go. That was what was wrong, and that wasn't switched on. Right. You see me soaring through the sky. I see you below thing missing is you by my side. Give me a smidge of confidence. Give me a speck of something that makes sense. Give me an idea of dependency. Give me a dash of loyalty. Loyalty. The sun shines bright, yet the rain pours on. Rainbows keep running and then they're gone. They remind me of me and you. What did I do? What did you do? Determination in those eyes. Where has it gone since it said goodbye? A lot has happened, but I'll stay by your side. Give me a smidge of confidence. Give me a speck of something that makes sense. Give me an idea of dependency. Give me a dash of loyalty. Loyalty. I could give my loneliness all to you, but the feeling in my heart can't follow through. You can save your broken heart to me, 'cause you know that I'll stay with you. That's why they call me loyalty. Loyalty. Time stands still when you're with me. How can I make you see? Your crazy antics make me want to scream. Your name's all I till my throat starts to bleed. To bleed. I could save my lonely soul for you. The feeling in my heart can't follow through. You can save your broken heart for me, 'cause you know that I'll stay with you. That's why they call me loyalty. Loyalty. So that was Acoustimando Brony's Loyalty, my rendition thereof. Thank you, everyone. Hello there, Cluttershy. How are you doing out there? Nice to see you. And nice to see all of you, in fact. Well, I'm not surprised you're tired because you are at least 2 hours ahead of me. And it's like 2:30 here, so. Hush now, quiet now? Certainly. I'm doing this in the wrong key, sorry. There we go, there's where it starts. Cluttershy, you should be going to sleep. It's 4:30 your time. Need to sort my cap over here. Tell you what I'll do here, guys. I just thought of another nice quiet song I know. I'm going to need lyrics for this actually, hang on. That man in the stream is Sketchy Sounds, my dear Kuto Sly. And I have my eye on the IRC. I can see what you're doing. And I just had a horrible pop there. Why, thank you, Amy. Okay, I'm just going to pull up some lyrics here. This next song I'm going to sing is one I wrote. It's a punification of a not too well-known song. It's called End of a Millennium, and the theme of the song is Celestia and Luna's reunion after Luna's banishment, and she came back and the elements of harmony cleaned her back from Nightmare Moon. Here we go. Sorry, this is a bad key for me to do this in. I'm going to change because I cannot keep doing that. Sorry about this. I think I'll be more at home down here. Hang on. Something's not right there. Oh. Right. There we go. Finally, the moment As words I've longed to say take flight on wings of hope. A sobbing whimper fills the air and takes away the last fear that lingered there. And in still pictures my tears begin to run. 1,000 years of loneliness now to an end have come. Someone clutches me in more than words can tell, says how she missed me. Did I miss her as well? And I say yeah. Final chapter closes on this tale of bitterness, resentment, where we both did fail. Winds of change start blowing, and with them we shall ride towards a brighter future for all of pony kind. So that was End of Millennium. That's a song that I am yet to get recorded and released. So, a quiet version of Never the Way. That should be fun. Challenge accepted, Fluttershy. And I'm going to switch this reverb off because it's just making me sound weird. How's that? Whoa. How's this sound, guys? Does this sound better? Anyway, let's see. Never the Way. Where's it gone? I'm now in an auditorium. Yes, I suppose I am. I could do something a little bit more subtle than that. How is this? Whoa, that's echoey. Could do this. There's actually something that does this kind of thing. Points if you recognize that one. Okay. Oh, there we go. That's not so bad. I was mucking about with my reverb. I'll switch that off for now. There we go. Now I'm back to normal. Okay. Let's see. Never the Way. Right. I'm going to do a quiet version of Never the Way, as that's been requested. And then, let's see. It'll probably be about 3 a.m. by then, so I may well switch back to reading. With all times I've played this, you'd think I would know the chords for it by now, but no. My mind refuses to remember. Okay. That's the wrong lyrics, sorry. You claim that I'm wrong, what makes it so right? What makes it so right? You just want love. We just want love. All you want is a fight. So leave us alone. when's a debate? If you lived a second as we do each day, you'd know that hatred is never the way. I know where to go when I feel down. I'm with my friends, I never get to frown. 'Cause if Pinkie Pies, now we laugh and enjoy all that life has in store. All of my friends I call my best, never leave one to care for the rest. 'Cause Pinkie Pie's happy, why shouldn't you be? We're bronies, we only love and tolerate. Ponies are awesome, so when's a debate? If you lived a second as we do each day, you'd know that hatred is never the way. Never the way. Never the way. So that was the improvised soft version of Never the Way. Okay. I am going to switch the guitar off now. Ooh. Oh my goodness. My leg has gone half dead. So it happens when you sit cross-legged to play guitar. Right, let's have a look at this thing I was linked. Now then, for this that I have been linked, which I may well read here, I'm going to note I'm going into this blind, so I've never read this before. Okay, 1,760 words. Fairly short. Okay. Right. Okay, this is fairly short. Ponies, this is going to be the first time I've ever read one of your works. Okay, this fic is called 7 Minutes. It's written by Ponies, the guy in the chat there who has a 0 in his name. And this is my first time ever reading this. Right. Ponies have always been afraid of death and what it may bring. They fear the solitude of eternity. But who's to say that there is anything to fear? No pony has ever come back from the dead to tell their tale, and for that matter, no pony ever will. The memories of our lifetime reside deep within our minds, hidden away until our final moments in the world. In your final moments of life after death, you have 7 minutes to relive your life. Funny thing it is how the brain has 7 minutes of activity after you supposedly die. Twilight Sparkle stood in a vast abyss of nothingness, unsure of where she was or how she had gotten there in the first place. She looked around frantically, trying to scan the abyss for any possible exit, or some pony to tell her where she was. "Twilight!" she could hear Rainbow Dash call to her. "Twilight, wake up!" "I am awake, Rainbow," she yelled back to Dash. "Guys, she's not breathing," Rainbow Dash yelled. "But I am breathing," Twilight told herself. She could hear the gathering of ponies all around her, varied whispers echoing through the darkness, even though there was no pony to be found. The sound of stammering hooves became louder as she felt a violent tug over her body as if she was being lifted and dropped onto something. Twilight ran with no idea of where she was going, but she knew that she needed to get out of wherever she was. The abyss was starting to scare her more than it had when she had first arrived. Noises were everywhere, from the sound of hooves on tile to a lone monotone noise. She wanted out. She needed out. The noises reminded her of the hospital she had to visit many times when Rainbow had hurt herself in one way or another. The beep had that same tone of her heart monitor, but it was longer and never stopped. It continued as she ran, before she slowed herself down to a stop. She knew that terrifying noise. It was the heart monitor of some pony whose heart had stopped. "Clear!" "What? Ah!" Twilight screamed in pain as she felt a jolt of electricity flow through her body, nearly collapsing. "Clear!" This time she could hear the whine of whatever it was charging. "Please!" Ah! Twilight fell to the ground, her muscles aching from whatever had been shocking her. A wave of fatigue came over her body as she tried to stand. She fought it off momentarily, before it came back again with a vengeance. The thud of her body echoed as she fell. Twilight was barely able to keep her eyes open, the fatigue pushing them closed with more and more force each time she resisted. I can't be dead, Twilight mumbled in a slur, as she lost all connection with her mind and body. Twilight lay in bed peacefully, the moonlight casting a slight shadow through her window. Spike was still asleep in his bed across the room. The sleep Twilight was having was becoming less peaceful by the moment. Beads of sweat were building on her forehead while she clutched her full-hood stuffed animal for dear life. Her breathing became sporadic, and she jolted up in her bed, throwing her hooves to her side to keep her balance. Twilight looked around the room as if she was expecting to be somewhere else altogether. A heavy sigh escaped her lungs as she lay back down, looking straight up at the ceiling. It must have just been a dream, she thought to herself, as she wiped the sweat off of her forehead. There was something that felt like she had been here before. She looked over to her calendar, which had been tipped over on her nightstand. Twilight picked it up, but where she expected there to be a date, there was only a blank sheet of paper. Looking through the entire calendar, she noticed that they were all blank sheets. Pardon me, that's my antivirus updating. Spike! Oh, what, Twi? What could you possibly need at 3 in the morning? Spike asked her while pointing to an alarm clock in his hands. Wait, what did you just say? She asked Spike with a confused look on her face. Well, I asked what you could possibly need at 3 in the morning. Something wrong, Twilight? He asked, noticing that Twilight had begun to whisper to herself. It can't be, Twilight told herself. It just can't be. Twilight rolled out of the sheets and ran downstairs into the main lobby of the library. Books came flying off the shelves in a violet aura. There was a certain book somewhere that she felt was necessary to get answers. She needed that book to understand why this was happening. These events just seemed so familiar to her. It had happened before. There was no doubt in her mind that it had, but the events had unfolded slightly differently. After a few minutes of sorting through hundreds of books coming off the wall, she found the one that she was looking for. Equine Brain Function and Activity, it read. She had recently used this book to teach the young fillies at the school about how their brains had worked, but for most of them they didn't seem to understand it one bit. There was one tidbit of information that she had found most interesting while teaching the fillies. It was on the tip of her tongue. She just needed something to give her that push to remember exactly what it was that she needed to know. Flipping through the pages of the book, she noticed that some pages were missing in the chapter labelled Activity After Death. The book ceased to be encased in the aura as it fell to the floor, and she finally realised why the calendar was blank, why she had such a severe case of déjà vu. She was reliving the memory that she had always wanted to redo. This was the day that she had wished she had the chance to tell that special sun pony about the way she really felt about her. Today was going to be the day. The world around Twilight began to flicker and disappear in random pieces, some of it coming back while others never did. The fabric of this reality was beginning to tear apart. She had to tell her how she really felt, like she had always wanted to do. Now was her chance to do it. She bolted out the door of the treehouse, the streets of Ponyville only lit by the various street lamps. Her hooves carried her through the streets of Ponyville, heading to the town square where Sugar Cube Corner was located. Twilight came to an abrupt stop in front of Sugar Cube Corner. I really hope that Pinky is here, she thought to herself. Of course I'm here, silly! Pinky called out from the second-story window. What? How? How? She asked Pinky. I'm Pinkie Pie, duh! Pinky said to Twilight with a slight giggle. Pinky, I really need to tell you something. I don't know how to tell you, but since you know what I'm thinking already, you probably already know. All I wanted to say, Pinky, is I love you. Tears began to flow from Pinky's eyes as she put her head in her hooves, muffled, I love you too, coming from her. A tear formed in Twilight's eyes as she opened her mouth to let her know how much she cared for her, even if she did get angry with her at times. Before she could speak a single syllable, the entire town disappeared before her, replaced with the black abyss once again. The familiar tone of the heart monitor filled the void, echoing through her mind. She came to accept the fact that she was fading, and even though she hadn't told the real Pinkie Pie how she felt, she had told a Pinkie Pie. That was enough to put her mind at rest, so that she could leave peacefully. She sat back onto her haunches, waiting for it all to go black. A hoof collided with Twilight's chest, knocking her over. She looked around, expecting to see somebody around her. But there was nothing there again, just the darkness that seemed to attack her being. Another hoof came into contact with her chest, with much more force than the last. The walls around her began to change, and for a slight moment she thought that she could see all of her friends standing over her. "Twilight, don't go! I love you too!" hysterical Pinkie shouted. Twilight looked up towards the sound, a rushing of senses coming back over while the world materialized around her. Pain streaked throughout her body, attacking every muscle. Twilight cracked her eyes open, looking around her. She was surrounded by her friends, Pinkie Pie sitting over her, pounding on her chest, trying to wake her. "Pinkie," Twilight said feebly, before the pink hoof reached her chest. "Twilight, you're back!" Pinkie yelled at the top of her lungs, crushing Twilight in her embrace. Twilight smiled at the antics of the pink pony. "I love you, Pinkie." "I love you too, Twilight," Pinkie replied under her breath, slightly loosening her grip on Twilight. Both of the ponies had a smile plastered on their faces. Pinkie looked deep into Twilight's eyes, slowly leaning towards her face. Pinkie's sugary lips came into contact with Twilight's, a spark of warmth and happiness surging through Twilight. A corner of the room slightly flickered, reality barely stable. Twilight didn't notice it or anybody else in the room. She was happy with the pink party pony that stood over her. Who are you to say if we are dead or alive? There is always that possibility that you are living in those 7 minutes. We can't ever tell if we are in reality, or simply floating in the space of our own mind after death. After all, the things that make it real, the pain and suffering, will always be there. We all have the chance to live the way we wished we had lived during those 7 minutes. But since you cannot possibly know whether you are there, live every moment as if it was your last, and take advantage of every opportunity. And that's the end of that fic. That was 7 Minutes by Ponies. Give them a hand, folks, or a hoof, or whatever. I will admit that this fic was not my usual cup of tea. I'm not always one for sad fics. And yeah, not my usual cup of tea, but fairly well written, and a nice story, so yeah, not bad. Read the SCP one. I'm not so sure whether that would be a good idea, because, yeah, for one, it has to be PG, and for two, I am probably going to go to bed sometime soon, and I would prefer not to have nightmares, so... Okay. I think I should give you guys a bit more music. Would you guys like a bit more music? Okay, we'll have a bit more music. Well, Chaotic Harmony, I guess I won't plug Reading Rainboom anymore. Ooh, that show that's coming on later this week, I totally won't plug it. Ah, my word. Do they not do sarcasm anymore? Okay, let's see, where did I put this? Okay. It's all the same. Oh, names will change, and every day seems they're wasting away. Another place where the faces are so cold. I drive all night just to get back home. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. Wanted, dead or alive. My son Alcat? I'm not Final Draft. I'm Sketchy Sounds. Sometimes I sleep. Alright, okay. He's not watching. He's watching the closing ceremony, fair enough. Sometimes it's enough for days. And people I meet always go their separate ways. Sometimes I tell the day, but the bottle that you drink, at times when you're alone, and all you do is think. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. Wanted, dead or been everywhere, still I'm standing tall. I've seen a million faces, I've rocked them all. 'Cause I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted. So that was Wanted Dead or Alive. That was covered by Michelle Creeber and Mando Pony a wee while back. And they did a fantastic performance on that. If you haven't picked it up from Michelle Creeber's CD Baby yet, I highly recommend that you do. It's fantastic. I'm Sketchy Sounds. If you've just tuned into the Everfree Radio live stream here and are wondering what the heck is going on, well, basically I'm providing you guys with a little bit of entertainment because a Dusty Cat, who would normally be on doing Stay Brony My Friends, or would have normally been on doing Stay Brony My Friends, is still on an aeroplane at the moment, or has been making his way home anyway, so he could not bring you guys a show tonight, so you got me instead. And my guitar has gone out of tune again. Actually, I'm going to retune this. Very funny, chaotic harmony. Okay, I'm going to do a song now which I have not played on any of my streams before. This is one I was working on earlier, working on learning. This song is quite an old one. It has been covered by several bands. Most notable to me would be by Nickel Creek. And my guitar's not in tune, pardon me. Okay, so as I was saying, quite an old song here. A folk song. gently sweet there we go. There it is. Right. Though gently sweet afternoon among thy green braes, though gently I keep getting my chord positions wrong. Give me a moment here, folks. Pardon me a sec here. You know, I think I might need to practice that one a bit more. Don't know how many of you will recognise that one. That was actually a shortened version of a tune from Guitaru Man. Right. Play Roundabout. I don't know Roundabout. Okay, guys. Oh, excuse me. I think I will go out on a well-known song here. I'm gonna stop streaming because it's like nearly 3:30. And also, as you can probably hear, my throat is starting to get a bit hoarse. Ha! I made a terrible pun. Anyway, let's see here. Okay. I can't remember what happened in September, when everything is wrong, when it's dark and I'm alone. It's been forever since I could have remembered where the hell is every pony. I just want to know the story Still can't remember what happened in September, back when every pony died. Trails of blood, you're in my stride. I just discovered that the ponies were defeated by something really strong. It seemed very weird and wrong. It just doesn't belong like it came from out of this world. Small memory came to my head, just like that suddenly. I think I've gotten a clue. Something tells me this is worse than what I knew. Just remembered what happened in September. I'm the one who killed them all. I survived after the fall. So that was the Living Tombstone September. And that's basically it from me for tonight, because it is very late here, and I should really see about getting to bed, getting some rest, and so forth. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to this somewhat impromptu stream. Hope you all thoroughly enjoyed yourselves, and I will see you again later this week. Tonight would normally have been Stay Brony My Friends, but Dusty is on a plane, or has been on a plane, is still making his way home. Tomorrow night, here on Everfree Radio, we should have, hopefully, the Equestrian Inquirer, but again, what with us having just been through BronyCon, they may also not be around. So stay tuned for details, basically. Keep your eyes on the Everfree Radio website for details as to whether or not Equestrian Inquirer will be coming on. Now then, we also have, let's see, Chaotic Harmony. I'm going to need you to tell me when Reading Rainbow is supposed to be debuting. What day is it coming on? Same time as the show, but tomorrow. Okay. So, all being well, Reading Rainbow will also be debuting here on our live stream, 7 p.m. CDT, 5 p.m. PDT. I don't know what time zone, well, what time that is for me. Although if it's the same time as Dusty Show, that would make it 1 a.m. UK time. So that should hopefully be debuting tomorrow, all being well. Now then, on Wednesday, as I say, we have the Equestrian Inquirer. If they have managed to get something together for us by that time. No idea on that yet. And on Thursday will be myself, Sketchy Sounds, for the Sketchy Sounds live songcast. I do much the same thing as I do here. I do songs. I take requests from the chat. I will be a bit louder though because it will not be a ridiculous time in the morning. Here in the UK, it's now 3:30 in the morning. But my show goes out at what is 10 p.m. my time. So I would think that would be, let's see, that's 3 p.m. PDT, I think, possibly. And roughly around 5 p.m. CDT, I think that's about right. And after my show, a few hours later, is Brony Breakdown. And then on Friday, I believe it is. Yep, on Friday, we have the Lunar Republic takeover. And on Saturday, we have Saturday Night Songs with Michelle Krieber, if she will be around. Depends. She is somewhat busy at the moment, making some magic as well. She's been doing Speedy and Stretch, which is a new thing she's doing, which is going to be amazing. And I think that covers most of our programming. Radiant Eclipse usually shows on a Sunday, although it may get moved, so stay tuned to the Everfree Radio site for details on that as and when they occur. I believe that covers all our programming for this week, so thank you once again for tuning in, and see you all on Thursday. Good night.